I just welcome my students. We were talking about a video that we did on Wednesday. It was a short video, just a quick little side exercise I like to do in the lab session period when we do meet on Wednesdays. So we'll upload that video in case you did miss that technical exercise. It's not really mandatory or anything that you're missing in terms of assignments and projects, but it's a good knowledge base to have. So thanks to your recommendation, I will post it up there and have it ready for you. In the meantime, let's look at the agenda for today. I'm going to share my screen and we're going to get started with the more like the UX UI side of things, incorporating Illustrator. As you know, Figma and XD and these other prototyping softwares, as good as they are with the prototype side of things, I wouldn't say they're the best at designing or drawing these types of mechanics that you need. Even surface materials, material design itself is a subject that UX, UI designers always use on their apps, their websites. Programs like Illustrator and Photoshop are a lot more richer and a lot more technical when it comes to execution. And yes, you can incorporate these programs alongside with Figmas and especially Adobe XD because it's the same software developer, right? Adobe is still around. It's not really totally discontinued, although the support is no longer there for what they say. Figma is still an independent company. Adobe was trying to acquire it years ago and didn't succeed for astronomical amount of money. I always have a chat with one of your instructors, Felice. Me and him are on top of this to keep it current. As it is right now, there's still a lot of professionals that use Adobe XD, so we are going to keep it in the loop until they totally discontinue it. And we're going to stick with Figma as well to keep it as more like a continuation of prototyping. So having said all that, how does Illustrator fit in? Well, anytime you design the buttons, the menus, all the little icons, all the intricate elements that go into the user interface could be done in programs like Illustrator or Photoshop, right? Some other programs that are kind of around to help you with these things. And you can get a lot more richer experience and graphics out of these for sure. Not to mention the technical things that you can execute. Whereas those other programs are a little more challenging when it comes to doing the stuff you can in Illustrator. Look at the exercise we did last Wednesday, like the 30-degree angle, step and repeat rotation. You can't do that kind of stuff in Figma or XD. Okay, so without further ado, let's share the screen and get started with this. I'm going to do that right now. As you can see right now, this is the class 5. I called it the UI kit. This is an assignment that's due for you also. I'm going to give you a week and a half for this one. I'm going to assign it today, and you can hand it in like next week, like during the lab on a Wednesday. So if you need some help during the lab period, I can help you. So that means you have the lab period this Wednesday, you have a Monday class coming up, and then you have the Wednesday of the lab to get this done. So I think it's sufficient amount of time to assign this. This is another assignment that you have to do, just like the logo. And having said all that, don't forget the main project that I assigned to you already, like 2 weeks ago. And last week we went over that as well, which is the main project for, just to kind of keep you all in the loop. All right, you're creating the application splash banner. So this is like your midterm exam. So I want to see all the stuff you've learned, all the techniques. There's a lot more stuff I'm going to show you by then anyways, when this is due, like advanced blend modes and gradients and colors and stuff. So at least for now, get started with the setup, with the choices, with the design. As far as the technical execution, we can always add those things in there afterwards as well. Okay, just don't leave it till last minute. So you have one big project that's due in this class, and that's pretty much in 2 weeks. Okay, I might even depending on the week, I might extend this till the Friday or something if I can, just because we got to get a midterm grades in when is the halfway point of the semester for you. And then there's, of course, the assignment that I'm giving you today, which is the UI kit. Okay, so by now you have enough knowledge to get these things easily sorted out and the comfort level should be there. So this is when the assignments start to pick up a little bit and projects for you guys, not just in my class, I'm sure for other classes as well. All right, so let's get started. This is so let's look at what class 5 is all about. So you have the UI kit exercise AI file. If I click on that, I get to download the exercise for today that we're going to incorporate and learn from. So I'm going to save that onto the desktop. I'm also going to ask you to download the wireframes.zip file. That's also a very good example of how you can utilize these things. Now, what are wireframes and what's all this UI kit stuff? If you can just even Google it, wireframes in Illustrator, okay? Because a lot of designers do. I mean, it's a preference. Everyone has different choices of using different programs, but Illustrator can easily create these wireframe type of basic layouts and stuff that you can incorporate with your websites. This is even in the earlier days. Figma didn't even exist back then, neither did XD. We used to do prototypes before we lay out websites in HTML and CSS. So basically creating a wireframe like this and using the proper the column structure, you get to prepare a lot more type of cemented planning routines with websites, so you can execute more consistently. And of course, the approval stages is important for the clients. For you to do any website, any type of prototyping, you should do some kind of a wireframe. Let me just take out Illustrator for a second here. Wireframes for websites. And this also goes for apps as well. So if you look at some of these wireframes for websites. Now in Photoshop, we're going to do some of this stuff as well. But you can see a very popular, a news anchor website like CNN, and you can see how complex this. It's a news website, so it's pretty busy with video content, image content, blog articles, hyperlinks, and things like that. This would be the wireframe setup. So you would pretty much plan it out first and then execute it second. So without the plan, you can't really build a website. I mean, you can if you use templates and stuff like that, which I've done myself. I'm not gonna tell you I always use wireframes to make websites, but if it's a proper project management that you're executing, you should, present your client with the wireframe, then execute the website as well. That's how properly projects are done. Just like a house, there's a house being built beside mine right now, and I'm sure without a blueprint or a foundation or a wireframe, they couldn't build the house. You can't just build something from just, you can't just wing it, I guess. You can't move the door and the window after you're done with the brick and the foundation. Same thing goes with the websites. It's a lot more harder to I guess, manage the foundation. You can swap images and content, no problem. But far as the foundation and the layout, it's hard to change once it's delivered. So this is why wireframes are very crucial to almost any type of project. There's a lot more samples over here actually, so you can see other websites utilizing wireframes. So we are going to see how Illustrator can help us build a wireframe. I'm going to do a quick little segment on that, and then also we're going to do the UX side of Illustrator as well. This is going to be like a one session class for this stuff, and then we're going to focus more on the drawing capabilities of the software as well, so you can incorporate both. Because honestly, this stuff is really, really easy and simple. I'm going to open this folder here just to show you what it is. I think I have the same kind of example that I showed you earlier there. I think we took Humber's website and we built a wireframe based on that. Or I think I made one of my platforms. I own a platform called CanadianMadeProducts.ca. That's my platform. I built that back in the pandemic times when I wanted to do. I do a lot of community stuff for used to do the yellow pages like 20 years ago. That's how I started as a junior designer. So all these community-driven platforms, they turn into websites. They used to be print books and, the yellow pages, the white pages. So now we have community-based platforms that look like this. So we're gonna maybe pick one and make one of these happen here for the wireframes. So this is one of the exercises we'll start with. And then comes the UI kit. Now this is the actual assignment that you're going to be delivering. So the UI kit will entail all these different fancier button techniques you can incorporate into Illustrator, whether it's like sliders, buttons, drop-down menus, hamburger buttons. You're going to choose an actual color system that goes with your UI kit, so it's more consistent. I'm going to show you a more professional one where it has a lot more things like you can choose your fonts, you can choose your different colors, styles, and all kinds of stuff when you build this UI kit. Okay, so we're going to definitely dive into this one as well. All right, so that's what's in store for today. So let's get started with Illustrator, and we'll do like a review on Wednesday. We'll go over some of these things as well, and you'll have time to get this finished. Let's open up the software here. We're going to go right into it. And we're going to create a new file. I'm going to create a landscape document. If we create like a web prototype wireframe, you can go to the web settings in Illustrator. It has, mobile settings as well. So you can create like a, let's say, iPhone X interface or iPhone X prototype design for a mobile app. So you would choose a mobile setting. If you want to create a website wireframe design in Illustrator, you can go with the web setting here and pick a different web size. In this case, you have the common, the large, the web standard, and the minimum size. I seem to favor more like the common and the web large. These are my go-to. Although 10 years ago, we would gravitate more towards the 1280, 1024 pixels. Right now, with more responsive websites, because we have bigger monitors, bigger screens, better graphic cards, the resolution got a lot more bigger. I even see people use their, 4K television screens to watch the web right now. So you want to make sure you increase the maximum potential for the website. So we can go with, I guess, with the common size here, which is a little bigger than this one. So 1366 by 768. I guess I'll go with that one. And of course, there's the other categories that we went over prior. So let's stick with this one for now. Hit the create button. And this is pretty much what the startup screen will look like. Now, you can always go to the artboard tool, as you know already, and you can always change the width and the height. I'm not a big fan of this 1366 number. I like to keep numbers pretty even to follow. There's no real definitive number. As you know, this number has a maximum and a minimum when it comes to like a browser screen, and you can always adjust it. But the width should kind of be a fixed principle of some kind of a number or size. Let's go to the most, what's this? Let's go to Amazon, right? Just to show you, I'm sure y'all don't know this platform here. What's the width of a platform like this one here, right? So I just maximized the Amazon website. And you can see here as I scroll down, it's fixed to this parameter over here. The menu is expanded basically, I think, using a percentage width aspect. But this is fixed right here. So if you go beyond that, if I was to do this, look what happens. There's like a little gray area here. So you know for a fact that the website has a maximum width of all these content placements, whether it's rows and columns and things like that, right? So basically, if I was to minimize this, you can see how we have the width is basically focused on from here to there, right? So what is that number? Okay, what's that? Because if I make it smaller, of course, the website shrinks. And notice how it doesn't even get responsive. Amazon doesn't really care because they have an app. So the app automatically converts, or the website recognizes the app, it converts to an app model. But me doing this, it doesn't really give you a responsive measure. Whereas if I go to my, let's go to my platform, CanadianMadeProducts.ca. And this is my platform, by the way, here. I'm not going to try to compete with Amazon, but I do have, quite the memberships here that we're trying to get all over the status here. So we're going to go resize it. So there's your tablet size. Then this turns into like a hamburger menu. And then this is the mobile version. So there's different versions of this. If you do this to the Amazon website, you're getting strictly this. It's not really giving you the other responsive measures. Has a different detection module because then I think it recognizes the device, whereas you resizing it won't do it. So just a different way of creating this thing. Anyways, let's get to the actual mechanics here because this is the width we're trying to measure before we get to the gray area. See, there's a little bit of gray here and a gray here. What is the width of Amazon? So to do that, I'm going to hit Command Shift 4. Remember, we did this in the Wednesday lab when some of you taught me your PC shortcuts because I forgot I haven't done shortcuts on the PC in a while. Windows Shift S, I believe, is the one for PC. So if I do Command Shift 4 on the Mac and I go all the way from the left side here, okay, right here, all the way to over here, 1500 pixels. You see, that's what I'm getting. 1500 to the bottom of my crosshair here. So that means Amazon's fixed to 1500 pixels for the web standard, and everything else is basically scalable, right? Like the menus and stuff. But this doesn't go past 1500 pixels. So I'm going to press escape. Now that we know that information, we can basically, if you want to do an Amazon platform and create a wireframe, we can increase the width to 1500. So what I'm trying to show you is the flexibility of you controlling the width and the height parameters in the artboard. I'm going to make the height a little greater so we can fit more information. I'm going to go with 900 pixels. Okay, so it's a little more height we have there as well. Okay, I'm going to go back to the selection tool, just zoom out slightly. When I zoom in and zoom out, it gives me all these two views. So instead of 33 or 50%, I'm going to type in 40%. And that's going to give you maybe 45%. I'm doing this on the bottom left corner here, just so I can get a better view on this size here like that. So I'm at 45% view. You can see here 45%. And you can also you can zoom in and zoom out this way. I like to use the shortcuts as I showed you earlier with the command plus, command minus. This is where we're going to create the wireframe for any website. We can do Amazon. I think we did Humber last time. You can pick one if you like. All right, I'll just do something simple just to demonstrate my point here. So if we're gonna do, let's say, Amazon, for example, right? I mean, the menu would be all done in obviously, HTML and CSS, and it's a lot more integrated stuff you're gonna incorporate here. But let's just say, for argument's sakes, you have to also present that. You would design the menu also in Illustrator. I'm just gonna do a simplified version. All right, so if you're gonna put the logo up here and then put this over here and then put the search bar and everything else, we can also actually go ahead and restructure the menu how it looks like. Okay, so one way to do that, if somebody asks you to build them a website and they point you to the website, you can always kind of do a relevant integrated comparison, and then you can modify it based on what the client wants you to do. So if somebody say, I want a website platform, you can kind of put the search bar up here if you like. If you can see my search bar here is I have a name, keyword, and postal code. You can also search for different categories, like food and drink, for example. And then I want to type in food and drink in, I don't know, in the US somewhere, right? The USA. Right? So no, it's a Canadian platform, so why would I do that? Let's go to Calgary, Alberta, right? Calgary, Alberta, food and drink. I can do categories, or I can just type in the food and drink that I'm looking for. So then you hit the search button, and there's Chris Root Steakhouse, one of my favorite places to go there, and all these other places you can visit to get food and drinks in Canada. So that's how my system works. Whereas Amazon's a lot more expanded, of course. It's got a lot more options. When you type in food and drink, it's going to give you all these different things you can buy from their platform. Same thing, the search bar is pretty much important to incorporate in different ways, whether it's here, location and search, or whether it's categorical search, different ways of searching things. Just to show you my other platforms, since I'm showing you my stuff here, I also have a Macedonian Yellow Pages. That's my ethnic background. I'm Macedonian, so I do have. This is how I started with this whole Yellow Pages stuff. I used to make the Macedonian Yellow Page platform, so it's kind of getting populated pretty much. Just to show you my membership here. 16,000 results. So I have 16,000 companies that are registered through my Yellow Pages. They're not all paying their bills, by the way. This is like a free platform, but I'm trying to build this so there's more traction to reasons to promote stuff there. I also have a dental business directory, which I've started in 2006. This one is pretty focused on the healthcare industry, so it's more like dental stuff. So if you look for dental members and dental directories, you have that there as well. And there's different languages. So you can do, I only put 3, but you can put a lot more languages in here. Let's say you want to do French, for example. It'll translate the entire website in French or Spanish, or you can do German or whatever, English, any other main languages. You can do other um, community languages as well. So my platform's a little different than Amazon's, of course, because we're selling more like services and business that helps with services and products, whereas this is all product driven. So let's go ahead and build something like this from the wireframe standpoint. I'm going to do a Command Shift 4 just to show you how to do just a basic. Just start off with this design here. Then we can see how the column grid will be set up to 12. Okay, so we're going to do, because 12 is a common denominator, you can put 1, 2, 3, 4 times 3 is 12, because you can put 3 columns for each one of these 4 columns for each one, for this row in particular, to fit it all in there. This will span to 2 columns. So this will be like 2 and 4, right? And this will be 8 to 12 basically. So there's your other 2 columns here. This is another one. This one doesn't really have a rhythm because it's one of those carousels, but you can nonetheless set that up as well. You can see everything follows this model of rows and columns basically. That's basic structure. So if I was to go to Illustrator, we can easily design that by putting a wireframe together. I'm just going to hit paste. Maybe I'll get like a reference view. So it even fit my 1500 pixels were pretty accurate because it fit the exact width of the actual Amazon platform. This is just a screen capture, and I can maybe base this on the actual wireframe design. I'm hearing noises in the background. Do you guys have a question? Just quickly go back to my chat here. Everyone's good? No questions so far? Okay. All right. So I showed you different ways of utilizing this practice here with oh yeah, one more thing. Look at my page source in Amazon here. I don't know, I'm sure you guys are doing a lot of coding at this point. This is what the Amazon backend looks like, at least their HTML source. It's got a lot of coding, of course. I'm just scrolling down to show you something. I think I showed you this already. Even to the very bottom, line 2500, there's a funny thing that they tag the duck that meows in the bottom. So they have a funny little tag that they do after they close the HTML, the body, and the div tag. They have a comment tag, and it puts a funny thing. Even programmers on this level have to have some kind of a sanity humor to deliver this kind of funny stuff that they do in the bottom. So I don't know how I encountered that. I think I was just showing students one day how this semantic HTML works, and then we saw the meow ducky. It's still there, so I thought I'd share that with you. All right, so we're not worried about the code. I'm here to show you the design side of things. So we're gonna basically design a similar wireframe that will then become, let's say, Amazon in this case. I can easily move this down here and just do like a menu type of, not a replication, but a similar type of design that we can incorporate and call it a different platform. Let's say we're creating a competitor with Amazon, right? So we're going to start off with the rectangle base right here. Okay, we're going to create layers as well. There's different layers we can create. So this layer will be called like the main menu, okay, or the top menu, we can call it. Different ways you can name your layers accordingly. This is just a template that we can always delete later. So I can hit Command X, I can cut that, create a new layer for that one and paste it. And this will become like our maybe templates to work from. So temp. And I'm going to put that to the bottom. And no, I'm not going to go ahead and do the template lock option because we're not really tracing it. I mean, you can if you want, but we're not really, our intention is not to do that. We're just going to keep it as a separate layer that I'm going to delete after I'm done anyways. So let's go ahead and start with the top menu here. I'm not going to design every little detail, but enough to show you the approach. So it's going to start like this. Here's the rectangle tool. I can use the eyedropper and match some of these colors. Now you will have like a color chart set up for your color schemes. When you do wireframes, you do it in grayscale. You don't have to apply color just yet. Okay. And I already showed you how to save your colors in your swatches here. If I do want to save this color as a hex color or as an RGB, you simply drag it all the way over here and you make it a color set. And you can make a group here and call it maybe Amazon conversion. And this will be my group here. And then you can obviously isolate the other colors. If you want to be very, very specific, you can say, delete swatches, right? And you can just delete all these swatches here and just stick with your own colors that you have. I believe this will be a color as well. I'm just going to drag from the color bar. And there's this one here. And maybe this orange will also be a color bar. Okay, so there's your three colors. And having said that, I can definitely design my swatches here with those three colors that I'm using. Okay, so maybe this will be, and again, you're going to pick your own colors based on your client's preferences. But for now, it'll be grayscale. So I'm going to go back to my grayscale tones, and I deleted them, of course. So I'm just going to go to use my, I can use the black and white and just use different sliders if I want. I can also show you how to bring up the grayscale palette if you go to your brushes. I mean the swatches. So if you go to swatch at the very bottom, you have swatch libraries, and you can go to where it says, you know, default swatches, and you can do web, print, video, and film. So if I go to like print or web, you can bring up my default swatches this way as well. Okay, so there's my default web swatches. So I can definitely categorize this as a gray bar for the menu. I'm going to make it a tad smaller. You can control the width and height, of course. The width is 1500 pixels. Again, it'll be percentage based menu when it's all incorporated in code. But for now, to get a visual, I will just follow my full width 1500 dimension there. I believe this is going to be centered. So I'm just going to just go like center like this and put it right to the top. So the X and Y placement are 60, 650 and whatever the Y is. The height will be 130 pixels. I like to keep it nice and simple math, simple numbers. So you can plug them in to your code afterwards. Okay, so that's going to be that one. Then I can utilize some of the particulars with logo placements and such. I'm going to put this color swatch here. So I have my color here. I have my colors here, and the default color swatch is there, which is the web swatches. Okay, so I do have them all here grouped into this category. The search bar is going to go in the middle across somewhere, so I might want to put it here, like in the middle, perhaps. I can even do a better placement than what Amazon has, maybe make it kind of more centered and stuff. So let's go ahead and make this, give it a white fill. And perhaps I'll round the corners slightly, just like they have on their menus. So I'm gonna make it a little wider here. And this, of course, can be centered and resized based on whatever size you see it fit. The width will be 700 pixels. I like to use even numbers, and the height will be 50 pixels exactly. Okay, so it's nicely even. And perhaps I can even round the corners a bit. I can go here and just round the corners just enough. And you can, again, style that with CSS. Some of the little, like the search button here, like when you got to indicate that it's a search bar, so you could incorporate some text. Okay, so search for products and services. This is a suggestive type of text that you have within the search bar, which people will know what to do, and you give them some form of instruction on what the search bar does. I'm going to keep this very, very light, just so it's hardly visible, okay, so people can see it. And this will be centered within the actual search bar, and you can add all the little details of how this will look like as well. So you can definitely add another rectangular shape here. Just going to trace this one like that, move it over. For this one, I'm going to round just the left side of the actual bounding box. I'm going to select this point and that point and just round them just to match my existing one here that I have. I could have copied and pasted the same thing. Keep in mind, this is just a prototype to show the client what the design might look like. When you do all this, it's going to be done differently in code. But some of the layout mechanisms will stay the same, and it will give you a nice structured way of designing the website as well. Okay. And things like the little arrows and the little other pronounces there, and details can be added later. So we're going to go maybe perhaps do another copy here. You know what? I'll just do an arrow, just a drop down arrow here. Arrows are quite simple to do. You simply can draw a polygon tool. I don't know if I showed you this one yet. Polygon tool does multiple sided shapes, like that's what polygons do. By default, this is called a hexagon. But if you're drawing the polygon with the mouse and you, with the other hand, go down, down, up, or down, you can create all these different types of, the minimum is a triangle because it's got the minimum amount of 3 sides. But if I go up, I get a square, or a square in this case, a pentagon, a hexagon, and so on and so forth, up to octagons and stuff. But if you go to triangle and I hold shift, I can definitely utilize that button and have some kind of a form of like a drop down menu or something like that. I can just rotate it slightly this way and just align it with everything else. Right? We can align this one together. And this can be like my search integrated engine that we'll have with the platform that I'm building based on the Amazon type of suggestion by my clients. I'm gonna build them a skeleton to go by, and then we can take it from there. So it's done in phases, obviously. The next is the search little icon here, because these are all things you can get online. You can obviously make one just to show you where all the goodies are hidden under the symbol libraries. You do have web icons right here. These have been here since I remember, the early 2000s when they make the program. Even now, there's not much different with the way internet was in terms of, the icons. They're also the volumes, the search bars, the folders, the trash cans. They're all pretty much still staggered throughout the internet. So of course, the emojis weren't as popular and some other new icons, but some of these you can recycle and reuse them. I mean, they still have them there. So there's a little search icon. I'm just going to drag it in here, and I can easily break the link so it can have my own edited version of this. But you can get a vector file online if you like, and just simply bring this here and use this as my icon, right? It's going to group it. Don't forget, when you bring things from this palette here, you have to break it, okay? I'll move this here. So again, if I bring the clock, for example, I can't change the color of the clock unless I break the link. Then I can make it any color of my choice, right? That's how you can utilize these vector elements. There's this RSS feed, settings. I mean, you name it. It's got all these cool retro icons that are still kind of, and you can modify them. If you think they're a little, dated or whatever, you can still make them kind of more up to date. Look, this is what cell phones used to look like back then, right? The old cell phones, they're coming back, some of them too. So you can recycle some of these. You can just get your own. You can even draw that if you want in Illustrator. You don't necessarily have to borrow these icons, right? All right, so maybe this can be another. I'm just going to change the color of it as well. We'll keep the icons here for now. It's going to make them a little smaller. And so there's my search bar. I can have languages here, put a little Canadian flag or whatever language preference that I have, some more typography option, a shopping cart perhaps, right? And yeah, there's a shopping cart here too I can borrow. Look, this more traditional shopping cart. Okay, so I can have like a cart here if it's like a online platform, like a Shopify website or something I want to sell products with, and you can add some more items that will go by. Don't forget to break the link. You can always change the colors afterwards to match its. I'm gonna group it now. Actually, there we go. Right, that's my cart. Speaking of type details, you can always add things like cart, and as you can see, this is very, very detailed. So you do have to let the audience know, how much products they're buying and what's happening on their website, on their portal when they order stuff. Um, maybe put some more details in here. I'm going to keep my typography black here, just so you can see on top of that gray. I can always change the colors after. This is maybe English as far as the languages. You can put the flag here. Okay. I mean, I'm not going to put every little detail because it'll take me a long time to do all this, but you can definitely get a flag that represents that particular country or language origin and make it look like that. For now, I'm just going to use my globe here. This was pretty much self-explanatory, right? So you can do all these little details and stuff just to, again, build the website in a way so it looks like an actual website, and then your clients and you or your design team can decide what happens next. So you know what, we're not going to do languages, forget it. We're not going to do a shopping cart, we're not going to do returns and orders, like whatever they want to do. You base the design. Once it's approved, then you guys have a communicated thoroughly with how this will be executed. Then you can go and build a website, right? You don't just build a website. Like, how much, I'm sure you know by now how much effort it is to build a website, right? You have, especially when you do a custom build. So you have to make sure you do the planning first. It's a lot easier to do the design because I'm just having fun with colors here and some text and some placement options before I even start that. Okay. Um, yeah, so basically, everything else is pretty much designed the same way I'm showing you here. Maybe some more menu. This will be like the main logo that we're supporting here. So maybe there's a logo here somewhere I can use. Capital letters, logo. So this will be the brand of the website. And of course, you have your other menus here as well. Okay, so you have, this will be some of this will be the home page. All right. Those are like the main button functionality of the bar, and then here you have the sub menus. The sub menus can be placed into a different bar here. It's gonna maybe use the same dimensions as this one. Sometimes it's easier if you just copy and paste this bar here from the previous one. So this is like the one it's the same width basically. The height will be maybe 40 pixels, right? The color will be a lot lighter, right? And this will be my secondary menu that I'm going to have, my nav bar, whatever I want to call it, to fulfill the other buttons that I'm going to have. So I will have, some of the other buttons here. Going to list some of them here. Buy again. Now, of course, you can have the grid or the ruler show up here with Command Y. You can have a lot of different ways of being more detail oriented. So you can see how this is all set up, right? So you can definitely get this nice detailed view. Again, you're creating the prototype here where when you do the HTML and CSS stuff, it's automatically going to be centered for you based on your, coding input. But you could still do a fine job by, aligning these two together by simply selecting these two. I'm going to go, maybe I can do top align. I should turn off the page and just keep it on selection here. And then you can do, top, middle, bottom, basically, right? So that's some of the control that you have when it comes to these things. Not to mention the guides and the rulers you can apply as well. So here's a ruler. I can definitely drag the top here and create some of the guides that are going to help me build this thing. So the rulers on the top here, you can just drag a guide up and down to the right areas. You can also do the vertical ones as well. Okay. Of course, to do the math, you have to, divide the different areas here. I wonder if they have the column structure set up. Like Photoshop is really nice when it comes to this, actually. I'll show you that in the next segment. Just to show you here. Guides. Yeah, I can't do it quite there, but I'll show you a different method you can incorporate in Illustrator as well. Photoshop has its own way of doing this, but let me finish the menu first. So buy again, we'll have things like, I don't know, I'm just copying Amazon for now. I'm blank with ideas, but this is stuff you communicate with your client, and then you will know exactly how many menus are they going to have here. Are they going to see what's going on? Browsing history, perhaps that's a good one to have. Then you have, bestsellers. And I like to keep real content so it looks a little more um, explanatory to when I'm presenting this. So, super deals, another home button, new releases, clearance items. And the last one will be maybe we'll have like a community zone. Yeah, I just totally made that up, but yeah, sure. Now, how do we line this up all evenly? Because you still have to present this like a nice design piece there. I'm going to select all these text characters. I didn't type them on the box. I put them all separate because I like to edit them separately, like you would edit the buttons separately. So for that, I'm going to go up here under the Align panel and distribute them all horizontally center. So yeah, I use this option here. So it's nicely set up like that, right? And of course, you can tweak it based on other parameters, but this will work for now. So our menu's finished, and you can see how Illustrator is quite easy to get this done, okay? It's a lot easier to do this than some of you guys did the logo. It just takes a little time and effort, but nonetheless, I mean, this is now can look like a nice wireframe design website, which it will become a website when you're ready. You'll know what width you are gonna or what height you will create this area here, like the header, the nav bar, the navigation, the buttons. These are all elements you can plug and play here. Look, 130 pixels, right? This is 40 pixels, and you can put the content in there. So it's easier to structure this way, to envision it, and to sell it. I mean, let's face it. At the end of the day, you want to get paid, right? So you're not going to get paid if you don't deliver the proper job. So by doing this, you're ensuring that you're kind of more communicative and committed with your client's work. And this is when you get your 50% down payment, right? When they see you're serious and you have something to show them. So this is the business side of things when you have to show your worth and build something to take it to the next step before you touch a line of code. Okay. So let's put some of the other design elements, the products. I'm not going to go all to the details here, but this will become like an image of a product that we're going to do. Let's do the columns at least. So we'll create four rectangles for image placements and product ideas and whatnot. But I want to make sure this I can put four in here and nicely fit it across. So this is where I got to utilize my columns and my guides and stuff. So for now, I'm going to do the width will be 350. Okay, 350 pixels in width. And the height will be maybe perhaps 400 pixels, right? I'm going to utilize my, I guess if I want to do my guide, if I do 1500 pixels width, and I put my columns to start at maybe, let me unlock this guide area so I can show you. I'm going to unlock the guides just so I can move them easily here. And I'm going to move them at the 50 pixel margin. My info. Info, here it is. So info shows you basically the exact positioning on this grid. So there's your X and Y positioning. Okay. You don't have to get this tedious with this one because the wireframe will work either way. But let's say you do want to nail this right down. So like there's my 0 basically, right? So if I go, let's go 60 pixels in, right? So I'll go 60 pixels right in here. Also 60. If you hold shift, it locks it sometimes, right? So there's my 60 pixels. Oh, all right. So I'm going to line it up to this one here. So I'm 60 pixels in. I can also do 60 pixels out from this way. So if you subtract, I'm going to go all the way to the end here. So 1500 minus 60 is 1440. So I'm gonna go to 1440 pixels. And again, if it's close to 1440, you're fine. At least it's to the exact amount. The reason why I'm doing this so I can actually go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, step and repeat. Obviously, the boxes are too big to fit within the 60 pixel margin that I have on the left and right padding there. So I'm going to make these a little smaller then. I'm going to go ahead and make the width 300 pixels. Okay. So 300 will fit, I think, a lot easier here. Maybe 320. But it doesn't matter as long as you make it all fit. And then I'll go Option, Drag, Shift, step and repeat, right? So because you see it's overflowing a bit, I can easily go like this. Nice little trick here. I can align this perfectly to the edge, and the whatever's in between, it'll automatically distribute by the common denominator. So divided by 4, let's say, because 4 times 3 is 12. Okay, that means you can fit all these here into the times 3 column basically. So I'm going to distribute them evenly up here, horizontal distribute center, and there it is. So I have my 4 columns. Okay. All right. So that means this will be 3 columns because if I have the 12, I can show you this in Photoshop better. You have, 1 column here, 1 column here. So this will be divided in 3 because there'll be like 12 total. There'll be 12 of these going across, right? So this will be like the actual 3 columns, right? And this will be the 3 columns. So it's 1, 2, 3 times 4 is 12. In Photoshop, I'll really get into this guide setup because it's a lot easier than me doing this math here. For now, you can just kind of do what I showed you, just do the padding and the margins and just do the equal division. The guide is easy to make in Photoshop as well. All right, so based on this, I'm gonna just keep it simple now. Maybe, this will be the middle point. Might as well do all the other ones so we know what we're dealing with here. So this is our maximum common denominator here. Right. And I would work with 12. It just only got to do maximum of 4 here. So I'm okay with this too. Right. So I'm just hiding the actual guides now. To put the rest of the information, now I can do, 2 and 4, let's say. So I'm going to maybe create another one. Maybe the other one expanded to, you know, took up 2 of my columns, and these will be individual as well. You can do any type of breakdown that you wish on your website, of course. Alrighty, and this will be exactly to that dimension here, and so on and so forth. So you build your, website basically based on these rules. You make sure you do even common denominator. You can do 2, 4, 3, 1 even, okay? And once you do that, you can basically place your images and everything else you need to do to finish your layout. I mean, you do the grayscale pitch first. So maybe these will be just a different color here, right? And then on the bottom, we'll do the footer, for example. Let's say this is the actual footer size or the disclaimer, whatever you want to call it. This will be the final thing as well. Even if it looks approximately like the way you want your client to envision it, you can build any type of wireframe model. And then after that, it's all plug and play. Right now, they want to see maybe images and stuff. You can easily, place images from, let's say, products or other things on the internet. Let's see here if I have any images. Does this even work? Oh, there you go. This is a museum piece of wood. There's different ways you can place images in Illustrator. One is a file place. If I wanted the image to fit the other way, I would have just rotated. Remember the masking I did with you earlier in the week, last week? So if I send this to the back or bring the other rectangle to the front, what I can do now, select these two and make a clipping mask. Now I can like put images and make this like a realistic, looking website. I can then put some more text and other elements and really decor this in a way so it becomes a website type of prototype lookalike. Now, when we get to the Photoshop segment, this is not an assignment, by the way. The UI kit is, which is more Illustrator intricate skills that I want you to have. But this is the knowledge I want you to transfer to the next segment in Photoshop. We're gonna take something like this. I'm gonna save this actually, and in Photoshop we're gonna rebuild the website using a wireframe technique. So Illustrator slash Photoshop slash HTML. We're also going to prepare the resources for the website. So all you have to do is do the code and all the images are done for you. So it's half of the job is basically done. The layout's done, the images are prepared. All you have to do is just upload everything onto your HTML. Okay. So this is why we're doing this, not just for design and to save you time that you're going to communicate with your client, but also to help you utilize these sources for the actual website itself. So this will all be beneficial to you later on. All right, so let's go ahead and save this as a wireframe. Right. Amazon similarity. And I'll save this on. Always save the Illustrator file first, right? And then you can do whatever you want with the Illustrator file. You can save it as a PNG, any type of format. You can add some colors and some other elements and produce the website. All right. So not bad in terms of comparison here. I mean, look, it took me just over half an hour to do something like this. You can pretty much make any design based on a real website and of course make it different and better than whatever the client wants. So I'm going to put this away now, and we're going to get down to the wireframe. Sorry, from the wireframe, we're going to go down to the UI elements that you're going to do. So let's look at the actual exercise and assignment that you have. Now, keep in mind, the assignments, I posted them all here. So if you look at Illustrator module, there's your assignment. So the first thing I noted was the assignments, and the other assignment is the UI kit for web slash mobile, and it's due on the why is it due on the 9th? This shouldn't be due that long. I think it kind of trickled down the calendar here. So today's the 30th. Okay. Um, actually, it is on the 9th. No, that's right. That's fine. October the 9th. So this is due not next week, but at the Wednesday of next week. So you do have like a week and a half for this one. That's right. We'll leave it alone. So for this assignment, you'll be designing a rough layout model of a UI kit to support the design elements that will play a key role into a web productions techniques applied to the website. The website can be chosen by you, or you can make up a template website that can be integrated onto a real composite production design, whether it's WordPress, Wix, or any other template production system. A lot of these websites, when you buy them online, they give you the materials. I've seen a lot of WordPress websites done in Photoshop, let's say. Some of them have an Illustrator type of layout. So they use these advanced programs to help them with the prototypes, right? I remember my monster templates thing when I download all these ones have a template like that. So what I want you to do is basically come up with your own materials. Okay, so you're going to use at least three various buttons navigation styles, at least three various drop-down hamburger search menus, at least three various sliders, a weather integrated widget or map component. So I want to see these four things utilized into your UI kit. Now this is what the actual handout looks like. So it is an actual thing I put together for you here. Okay. So I just read this to you. So let me just read this. It's a little different, actually. You'll be designing a variety of visual design components for a mobile application of your choice. So it's more like a mobile or a website, I guess. You can integrate both. Maybe I kept it for the mobile version because it's a little more eye candy like. So let's do a mobile like one, okay? So consider the buttons and icons you interact with on a daily basis and try to carry out a consistent theme. Because the mobiles have a lot more sleek, more design-oriented buttons. Let's face it, website UI kits are pretty simple. I'll show you the website UI kits. Website UI kit versus the right. So this is like the website UI kit. It's very simple. A lot of websites have a very simple UI kit type of layouts. Now, whereas some of the more expanded ones like this one, I know it says web, but as a lot of mobile apps would integrate this kind of layout. So I'm looking for uh, this kind of stuff. This is the UI kit Deep Purple. So I want to see this kind of design for you, so you can kind of really get a feel of the software and how this will look very nice like that. Okay, more like the UI kit for a mobile app. I mean, again, some of them use the same, whether it's mobile or web, they can cross between the two. You can, have a similar implementation, especially if you have a responsive website that'll look like a mobile app too, right? So you can kind of use the both mobile or web. This is a good example here because it has the sliders, it has the buttons, it has the drop down menus right here. So it has a lot of cool things you can use. What it doesn't have is the weather integrated widget, which I'm going to show you how this works. I'm going to save this as an example here onto the desktop. And it's quite easy to do this in Illustrator. Like if you do this in Figma and all these other programs, it's a little more tedious and time consuming. Whereas if you do it in Illustrator, it's a lot easier. And once you know how to do the logos we did in class, this is like a walk in the park for you guys. So it'll be quite easy to execute on that level here. Now I started with something like this just to teach you some of the basics, and it's up to you to populate these areas the way I had them look like the actual UI kit assignment you're going to hand in. I will show you some student examples as well that I've received from the previous semesters, what this deliverable looks like. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's also apply some of these, techniques into Illustrator to see how we can generate some of these buttons. Okay. Let me show you what the weather widget looks like as well, because I wanted you to add some kind of a creative piece as well. So weather widget. Okay, this is very common, as you know. All your phones have a weather widget, so you're gonna design like a weather widget, not the whole thing, just one of these little pieces, like the sun, the clouds, the temperature or the degrees, the location. This is a weather widget. So it's another UI kit element that you might want to know how to make. And you're not gonna make this in Figma. Sorry, okay? Or XD. You're gonna make this in Illustrator, okay, with all the little nice graphics and the clean design and all the effects and the glows and stuff. It's a lot more easier to do this in these programs, right? And you're not gonna do this in Figma, okay? But you will do it in Illustrator and bring it to Figma as a PNG file or SVG file, and you can integrate it there, then make it interactive. Yes, the more simple ones you can probably pull off, but depends on what you're aiming for, right? Still, Illustrator, hands down, is the easiest one to do this in. I'm just going to use this one as an example here. So I'm going to copy and paste it to show you how easy it is to create a weather widget in Illustrator. We're going to start with, we'll do a web design format for the delivery. So it'll be a common size. So web common size, that's fine. And this is where I can go ahead and create some of these widgets for my UI kit assignment. Okay, so maybe I'll use a template here and recreate one of these, and then I can recreate some of the other buttons that I'm going to see here. Okay. Okay, UI kit for a mobile game app. Games are very, very popular and quite, um, it's a huge industry in the mobile market. It's in the billions of dollars. This is the game user interface you can make as well. Very, very nice and fun to work with, where you can definitely take advantage of Illustrator to create your video game UI kit. Okay, because maybe the app you're creating will be like some kind of a game or interesting UI kit piece, right? It doesn't have to necessarily be a game, but all these attractive buttons and elements can make it more user friendly for the type of theme or topic that you're building when it comes to these UI kits, right? So you never know what you have to, create or what's going to be demanded of you. The point is you're going to have to be able to come up with this stuff. So some really nice stuff you can get off the internet. I'm sure you can open up your your um your app and open up your favorite game or your favorite integrated widget that you utilize and just basically recreate this stuff and have some fun. All right, so you can see here a variety of different things I can come up with, but it all comes down to a choice of colors, knowing how to execute these styles and things like that. Okay, and this has pretty much more than what we need. I'm just showing you examples here, right? So how would we create some of these styles and techniques? I'm going to maybe pull this one here. I'll save this onto the desktop and do some of these fun things as well. Because at the end of the day, you'll be creating a UI kit design for this next assignment. So let's do a weather widget first, and I'm going to place some of the UI kit elements I grab from that screen grab here so I can reproduce one. And you can come up with your own theme. Okay, you can just do what I'm doing or come up with something that you like and create a UI kit for. Maybe you have a video game on your phone that you like, a mobile app, and you can make a UI kit for that also. Just to show you, it's not just about games. UI kit for Android, right? Because yes, even the OS has a UI kit. Okay, so more on the serious level here. This is the Android UI kit. I don't think that's the exact one, but you can actually go ahead and look at different elements that they made for different OSs. Let's look at OS, like Mac OS. So even the iPhones had the UI kit, or even the OS for the actual operating system for the Mac had the OS UI kit which is still used today. A lot of these icons are very similar across all the Apple, the Macintosh platforms. Their interface is pretty consistent. for the past 20 years, I mean, they only changed the actual themes and some of the you know, the main surface materials, but their navigation, their simplicity, the way they're integrated, it's pretty much the same. The icons, like this OS here, right? The operating system. A lot of the symbols and icons on the iPhones are pretty much the same since they were from the very beginning. They're just more sleeker looking. That's what I'm trying to say. So nonetheless, there's a strong demand on, you know, designers to come up with this kind of stuff. And, you know, if you're getting into development and design, you're going to have to be able to deliver this stuff too. Here's an example that I gave you in the assignment handout, okay? So whether it's a mobile or web, you can do either one. I'll leave it up to you. But let's just follow the criteria and make this happen. Now, I do have a rough draft here, and I have a good draft. So based on the rough draft, okay, which means you draw it on paper, okay, or you do it in Illustrator, like a very simple version, the basic approach, okay, and from there you make a good draft, which is basically your full rendered design that captures the color elements, the interactive behavior states of the entire UI kit. And this is what makes it really fun because then you can, you know, utilize the best of both worlds, the grayscale and the color components. Let me show you what a UI kit rough draft looks like. All right, so this is kind of looks nice too, but there's a rough draft of what the UI kit might look like. So I would even back in listen even before the the mobile phones, the smartphones looked like the way they were. We used to do rough drafts for websites. This is what the students had to do before they made the other preliminary wireframe and then to build a website. So I would have them draw stuff like this by hand. Yes, by hand. Even if you can't draw, you still have to come up with these nice type of you know, planned ideas on how to execute these things. Now, more and more job seekers of today are looking for this. They want to see how critical you can think, how creative you are, and how well you can come up with ideas. Anyone can go online right now, even with AI and stuff, and generate these, you know, wireframe templates and get them off some websites or something and download them. But not everyone can produce sketches. That still comes down to you personally putting your human touch to the equation and making the project happen. So more and more, I think it's great to kind of have this ability to do this type of work. Okay. All right. So basically, what I'm getting at is you creating your drafts. If you don't have to do this on paper, you can do like a rough draft, let's say, like this can look like a rough draft, and then you can produce the good draft afterwards. All right. Um, so to do that, let's start off with the weather widget first. We're gonna produce basically this rectangle here. It's easy to do the icons and stuff. You just have to do basic shape. So if I do a circle shape over here, this is just a circle. This is going to be another circle, option drag. I'm going to make this one a little bigger. I'm going to grab the smaller one and move it over here and make it even smaller like that, right? Then I'm going to combine all these, maybe I'll grab another one here, right? I'm going to combine all these four circles, okay? Like all these four circles I just drew, and I can trace a real cloud if I want, doesn't matter. I'm going to use, you guessed it, I'm going to use the Pathfinder. Remember this one for the logos that we did in the past few weeks? I'm going to unite these and merge them all together and make it like a cloud looking icon. Just going to make it like that, right? This can be the cloud, and the sun is quite easy. A video that I have to upload still, what we did on Wednesday. Remember the step and repeat thing, which is quite cool. So that one, I'm going to just draw the sun here. You know, keep it nice and yellow. I like this yellow. Maybe I'll make it the real yellow. Sure. Right. And then these rays. And then we did this. Look again, look how helpful these exercises are that we did last week. So for this one, I'll do a rounded rectangle. Okay. I'll do one of these. Then I'm going to round the corners. So they look like that. And this doesn't have to be obviously same thing. I just have to make this maybe 0.5. I'm not gonna have a stroke when I'm done anyways. It's gonna be all clean, just to fill. I'm gonna align these perfectly though, just like we did on Wednesday's exercise. This is perfectly aligned like that. I'm gonna take this now, move it over. Remember, I'm gonna flip this around. How many times? Maybe if I do the same thing, I'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 times. Because does 8 go into 360, right? Yes, right? How many times does 8 go into 360? 6 times, right? So if I do, 60 degrees, 8 times 6. Sorry, what's my math here? Picture three, 8 times 4, so 40 degrees, right? So 40, 4 times 8 will be 32. Oh, where's my math? Sorry, you guys. Here, let's get the calculator out. It's too early to do math today. It's Monday morning. So 360 divided by 8. 45 degrees, my bad. So 45 degrees evenly is what I have to produce for these angles to be distributed around 360. So 8 times 45 is 360. Yes, that's true. So let's go ahead and do our, remember, X-ray vision mode, Command Y or Control Y. Click on this little sun ray, let's call it. We're going to go to the rotation tool. Now this is recorded. Remember, I'm going to upload the other recording. Basically does the clock that we did in class. So for this one, remember we pivoted in the middle. So we went Option click in the middle here. You're not selecting the sun. You're just selecting that. And we're going to do 45 degrees. And we're going to do a preview. Now, if you do minus 45, it's going to go clockwise. If you do 45, it's going to go counterclockwise. Don't ask me why. It's just how the default is. Either way, it's 45 degrees nonetheless. Doesn't have to be minus or plus. You hit the copy button, copy, and then you press Command or Control D until you get your all full on 8 there. This is what we want to do for the sun ray. And we're going to take out the outline. So no stroke, just a nice fill. We're going to go, group this together. And this will be, our widget that we're going to have. Let's bring this to the front and send this to the back. So we're just going to select a cloud here. And we're going to go to arrange, bring to front. Okay, so this is what's going to look like. And nonetheless, we can basically recreate or make our own widget for the weather. So we're going to bring this over here. And I'll just give us some outlines here to show it, right? And this will be partly cloudy, okay, or partly sunny instead of partly cloudy. Okay, so this will be what we're gonna state over there. And this is gonna be Toronto weather. So we're gonna put the Toronto, Ontario, Toronto. Alrighty, and then we have the day today is Monday, so I'm just gonna copy and paste this thing here. And yes, it is Monday. And we're gonna have the degrees and the Fahrenheit. So this is now look how they styled this one quite nicely. Notice how this is bolded. It's got the actual bigger font size because people want to see, hey, where is this weather? What's this weather for? And then you can put the date like Monday. That's not as relevant, I guess. Right. So you can kind of minimize that to 10 points. Regular. This is 14 points bold. So you can really style this thing. And then you have the actual degrees. What's the weather like today? Here, let's check it. Let's do some live weather streaming right now. 17 degrees. So I'll do 1-7. You can pick any type of font that you like. I like to do the little circle here, just as it's a little more stylized. Just switch it around here. So it looks like the actual Celsius bar. You can make it thicker and thinner to match the design. Right. And this is what's that in Fahrenheit? I don't know, 68. I'm just guessing. This will be semi-bold, perhaps. Will be a little smaller because honestly, we're interested in the Celsius, not the Fahrenheit per se. So we're going to make this a little smaller. So you can see I'm just basically making this widget work for me here, and I'm gonna, produce this into an actual widget. This will be all grayscale for now, just a little bit of yellow, and I always produce the gradient results afterwards. So I'm gonna make this a little like rounded the corners. I can take out the outline now and make it look a little more sleek and nice and friendly when I'm done. Basically, this is how you can produce any weather widget or a map widget. Yes, I did put a map widget. Some of you like maps. Just to show you how map widgets work, involves a little more illustrations. So if I show you a map widget, and no, I don't mean you to go to Google and paste a map. Basically, widget UI kit. Okay. So these are the kind of maps I'm talking about. See, a lot of them are kind of illustrated. Waze has a pretty unique map system than Google does. So does Apple. Used to have a different one as well. This might be like a map widget you want to create. So it's a little more illustrated. So you have like the simple cross grid systems and locations. I'm just going to copy this. Right? So this will be something that you might want to create as a map widget as well. So you would draw this in Illustrator, bunch of rectangles and the little points and stuff. I don't know. This might be even easier if you do it like this, right? So you have a map or a widget, one or the other. You don't have to do both. Although students in the past have done both of these, you don't have to do both, okay? All right, let's save this as the UI kit here. But this Wednesday, I'm gonna review some of these things and maybe show you some other methods I can share with you. But for now, I'll just stick with these two options, and I'll do a few buttons with you as well. And I'll show you some samples of other students so you can kind of see what everyone else did last semester for this assignments. All right, so let's look at some of the default ones in the program. And yes, don't use these, but they're there. Web buttons and bars. So yes, this has been around since the beginning of the program. Some of these buttons, we use them for even websites. I remember the Apple website used to look like this. This was the Apple website back in the day. You ready? It was tabs. So it had the tabs like this. Okay. This was Apple's website back in I don't know, 2000 or something. That was the website. Smaller tabs, more extended. Apple website 2000. See, I told you. Look. Look at the tabs. This was Apple's website back in 2000. Okay. Told you I'm not. Look, see, they use the tabs. So yeah, we would make a website that had the tabs and the under buttons and stuff. It looked like a mobile app in a way, but it wasn't. It was a website. There was no smartphones back then. We had flip phones and Blackberries and stuff, right? But this is how the website used to be built. So this UI kit was used for that. Do I see mobile apps integrating this right now? Yes, I do actually. It's a lot more easier to control the UI kits that way. This would be the one that, whoops, where's the other one here? This is the highlighted one. So you would have the highlighted part that's there, right? Um, this would be the page that you land on. This is like your landing page. And the other pages would know that this was your, page, like welcome to this tab or something like that. So that would be the UI kit we would make for websites back then, right? This would be the home button. And even now, if you want to create kind of like apps or tabs, whether it's like a health app or something to do with progress or tracking and stuff, portfolios used to be like this as well. Okay. Okay, so basically, this is like a easy navigated type of thing. I don't want you to borrow this. I want you to make this. Now, how would you make something like that? Well, if you grab any one of these skins, right? What you can do is see how you make this button. To do that, you have to do what's called break link. If you break the link, you can see this is a gradient. This is another little piece of gradient, and this is another piece. So there's three elements here that make this button, okay? And this other piece that you see that's here has a blend mode, right? And the blend mode is under here. It's called multiply, because if it's normal, it's going to look pretty normal. And multiply makes it look like it's kind of blending in through the background, right? And this other little piece here that you see is just a black and white gradient, but it's set to screen because the blend mode of screen will make it look like it's shining, like the button has a shiny surface to it. This is why you can do the eye candy of the buttons to make them look the way they do, right? So you can grab any button, okay? Any button, and break the link and learn how they did it. So look, this is a little rectangle with a gradient on it. I'll get into more gradients next time just to teach you some more advanced techniques, but the gradients will help you make this look like this exactly thing. Now, sometimes you have to break it more. So you have to right click, ungroup, because it's all grouped. And this is another shape. Look, another gradient. These are black and white gradients. But because they have a screen, because if it's normal, it's going to look like this. But because you're blending it to a screen mode, it'll blend in as a screen element to make it give it that shiny kind of surface appearance. And this is under transparency, by the way, in case you're looking for this very special blend menu. It's under transparency. Photoshop was well known for this stuff, but Illustrator now has it as well. It's under transparency, and you can control how objects or images blend with one another. And just by choosing a different blend mode, even color dodge, and you can try overlay, they all do different things, right? And you can even grab any one of these buttons and let's call it a dissect them, basically go to break the link and see how they're all made, right? They're all made in a very similar fashion. So you can learn from this and create your fancy buttons the way you like. I can even make one from scratch though. Like we can basically create a simple button using a rounded, rectangle tool here. Instead of a fill, I'm going to use a gradient. Just by using the gradient tool, you can create a gradient of any type. The gradient could be linear or radial. And there's the gradient tab, by the way. As soon as you select the gradient tool, you're going to go access the gradient tab. And gradients are a blend of, more than two colors. So I'll stick with the linear gradients, and I'm just going to drag it this way from top to bottom. I think I did this on the drop shadow. Remember we did the shadow logo once with the shadow underneath, and we did a simple black and white gradient. Well, now you can go ahead and edit the colors and double click and pick any color for your gradient, right? I'm going to just kind of edit it simple. Let's change it to the blues here. So I'm going to go to the blue, and this will be like a light blue. And this will be maybe white, right? Whoops. And I'm going to take out the outline. And I'm going to go ahead and round the corners, right? So I can make any kind of button style that I want. Now I can also do copy and paste. Have the same button on top of itself, right? Now watch this. You can scale this smaller with the shift key. Basically, this is a smaller version of the button. And you can, align them perfectly with one another up here. But this one here, you can basically rotate it the other way or just flip the gradient property. So it looks like the button's being deprecated, pressed, or whatever the term is for being activated, let's say, right? Perhaps you can control the gradient a little more subtle fashion, like this. Maybe you can go up like this. Whichever way you want to control the gradients, you can make the button work. Then you can make a series of buttons. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And this one, perhaps you might want to flip it the other way. This is where you can provide different variations of the button as well. By putting some text and some other parts in the button, whether it's a hover state, a click state, or whatever state, you can produce the buttons. Okay. The sliders are very simple. So drop down menus, again, just to kind of show you a drop down menu, whether it's a hamburger button, you can easily draw a menu that looks like this. And this could be your drop down menu. It's going to pick the colors here. And this can have a list of different items. A 102, a 304, and of course, as long as you step and repeat, you can do the drop down. This could be a hamburger button. Okay. We all know what the hamburger button looks like, right? You can have the three lines going across. So we can have this looking like that. And we can have maybe two and then three. This could be a smaller button. And this could be the list that you might have for that button to show up, whichever way you might want it to look like. Okay. If that fits the hamburger menu button that you're doing on the menu. I'm just keeping this really simple here, guys, to show you different examples, right? The sliders are very simple as well. You do have a linear or a line tool that can go across like this, right? And then this could be your main horizontal setup. And then you have your, perhaps it's an elliptical shape. Okay, I'll do one of these buttons here. The little chat bubbles, like there's the button here. If I want to break this one down for you, it's going to pop this down here for a second. Okay. All this is, right? If you want to break the link, is basically a gradient, another gradient, another gradient. So it's like four different objects. So I can make this look like that by simply using the gradient fill. Remember the gradient fill's over here. I can change this to like a radial gradient, and I can change the rotation to go like this here, like that. Okay, so there's my gradient tool. This is a second one that I can produce, right? So this will be the one that goes inside to do the inside part. There's another technique I'll show you, but let's just do copy and paste. Very simple. Scale it smaller, bring it into the front like this. You can scale it manually, whatever size you see fit. Center these two. So you're going to go center horizontal, center vertical. And the thing about this one is make it go the other way, right? So it's more like this way. So it's a little different than that one. Okay, so it's a little more presence. All right. And these are centered. And yes, there's another one that's a colored circle this time. So this is another gradient. It's blue and with a blue stroke, right? So you can easily copy this one again, give it some color, make it a little smaller, and perhaps we can give it a color element. In this case, I'll make it green, okay? I just apply it first. There we go. Right. Double click, green. I'll do my own customization here. Right. And this was a lot bigger. So it's almost capturing the whole thing. And then this was the one that goes on top, like the screen effect. We all know how to make that, right? We simply draw a little circle here, another circle over here, and you can basically extract these two. So just go and do this here. Pathfinder tool. And just go minus front. What happened to my Pathfinder? There's the Pathfinder. We're going to do minus front. So basically we're extracting this from the other. And this is our shape. And also if you notice this, remember the transparency, it's set to multiply. So if I bring this over here to the very front, when I set this to multiply, it's going to work. Am I copying the wrong one? Oh, there it is. This is the one here. And this is set to multiply. I'll make it normal because if it's if it's normal, it won't work basically, or multiply. It'll multiply right through. Where's my layers here? Sometimes you have to, I don't know what happened here with this one, but if you just drag it to the top, like it'll literally go on top. If for some reason your arrangement doesn't work, you might have to, arrange send to front or bring to the back, basically. There it is. Bring to front or send to back, and then that'll work in terms of your execution there. All right, so this will be perhaps, why don't we make it black and white grayscale so you can see how this works a little better. Let's go with black and white. So it's a black and white gradients. All right, so now what I'm going to do is basically take out the outline. We don't need the outline for all this. So we're going to go select all these circles that I created and just strip the outline. Just go no stroke, right? And this little gradient thing that I did here, we're going to go ahead and use the appearance, the transparency here. Instead of normal, I can do what's called darken. Well, in this case, I think overlay or screen might work quite well. Yeah, we're going to do something like that with it. And this might be an actual screen effect. I think I copied the wrong one there, right? Right. So this will be my little slider that I'm using. Whatever fancy as you want to make it, you can. And then this becomes let me center all these actually. I don't think I center them. So we're going to go center. There we go. Except this one here is going to go to the edge. And then group these together, Command G. All right. I think they're in separate layers. That's why it's giving me this weird result. I'm using the layers here in different ones. Right. Anyhow. So I don't need that in this. So Command G. So it's grouped. How do you make it a symbol like the ones I'm showing you here from these examples? So symbols are things you can reuse in Illustrator over and over again and for advanced use as well. So if I want to, encapsulate this and make it a symbol so I can use it again and again, I just drag it to the symbols library and I'll just name it, green button. Let me a movie clip export type. That's just the default Flash term we used to use back in the day. So you can just drag the symbol over and over again. And you can build your UI kit in a symbol library. Notice how the symbols I use, they're saved under here because I've used them before. And some of them are default. Like there's your drop-down menu and stuff. So whether you want to create your own symbols or reuse them, you can. And if this is a slider, I'm going to align these perfectly in the middle. I'm going to press Command D. So there's 3 of them. And this one perhaps will go here, and this one will go over here. So I can create like a slider type of effect. This is all very contributive to the overall UI kit you're going to be designing for this assignment, okay? And these are all the techniques I showed my previous students, maybe a little more or less. I mean, gradients is the main focus here. If you want to do the eye candy effect, you don't have to use gradients. You can just keep simple colors, afloat. And just make sure the elements are all there. The gradients just gives you that nice finished, polished look, especially for the apps, the mobile app UI kits these days. Another main thing is for me to emphasize is you to get familiar with Illustrator and do things that you can't in most other programs. Like I'm talking the Figmas, the Adobe XDs, because then you can easily take this and bring it to XD and save it as an Illustrator file. Believe it or not, if I save this as an Illustrator file, Yes, I can open it up in XD and convert this into an actual app, like make it interactive, right? So if I just go and where's my Illustrator file here? Even the wireframe that I made, right? Both of these doesn't matter. You can go right click, open with, okay, Adobe XD, right? I think it's still gonna be there for a while. They're not just gonna get rid of it. They put a lot of effort into that software, and a lot of you know, prototype developers use it still. You know, and Figma, of course, it's the more dominant one now. The past few years, that was a shift. But I mean, the fact that you can open Illustrator and XD is still kind of, you know, to my understanding, it's a lot more easier. So there's all my buttons now. See, in XD. I'm ready to make this into an app right now. Right? I can, you know, do all this look separate. You can totally edit this menu here. See? So I can do my prototypes now and make this into a website or an app prototype and then launch it to my dev team and make it the real product, right? So it's nice how you can take these elements and bring them to these programs. Um, Other ways you can export them separately as PNG files, or I would use the SVG file and bring it to Figma. Figma doesn't, you can't open this in Figma. Figma is a web application, so you have to, even if you download the desktop app, you still have to open this individually and break it up like that. Okay, so it's no easy solution for Figma, unfortunately, or not yet. Maybe I think maybe they're working. If they can't meet halfway, they might be able to export for Figma, and all of a sudden this is a Figma design, and you can make this a prototype in Figma before you make the website. You do the prototype. All right. So as we're wrapping near the end of the lesson here, I did want to maybe show you. Do you want to see some student samples before we wrap it up this morning to show you what other students did for this assignment that's due next a week and a half from now? Raise your hand if you want to see them. All right, that looks like most of you. Perfect. So let me dig up some files and I can share with you some of the previous students that delivered the same project here. Um, so this was the UI kit, okay? And there's some of the students, they did the buttons this way. Some of them, they finish all of them. You don't have to do all the screens like this, although it's nice the way, you know, John did it in his prototype. This is what he did. And he was missing some of the criteria points, like the widgets and stuff. So he had to go back and give me something else. This is another one here, Arch Deep. And this is another one here. Okay, that students did. So drop down menus, sliders, buttons, weather widget, map widget, whatever you want to do. Okay, so this is what I got from the last, I think it was the last semester or the semester before that. Here's another UI kit. Okay, here's another one. So I want to see this. This is a proper delivery right here. Here's the rough he did. Then he did a grayscale version, and then he did a full rendered version. Okay, so that's a nice way to kind of show me the. And I'm missing a lot of the other ones grayscale version. I do want to see you think grayscale and color. So do produce both for me, as it's stated in the handout, please. Okay, so I want to see the grayscale and then the color version. It's a lot easier when you do the grayscale. Okay, just to add the colors. Okay, here's another one here. A little too busy if you ask me, but again, the student was exploring different methods of, you know, colors and grades and stuff. It depends on the reason. Sometimes it is supposed to maybe look like that. Here's another good example. Larissa did a good job. She did the sketches, then she did the grayscale, and then she did the color version. This is a really nice example. Okay. And it's simple. You just do the actual buttons, the menus, the sliders, the switches, right? Really nicely done. There's another one over here. Some of them are missing the preliminary, so I don't know. Some of them handed it in separately. So this person did it like this, grayscale version, and then he did the Illustrator version. Another good example. So if you want to do what Maria did, so Maria did, she did the grayscale and then she did the color version. That works too. Okay, so this is what I'm looking for from you from your class. Okay. There's Marinade did this as well. I think the grayscale version. Some of them gave me a piece of paper because in the class I give them time to do their brainstorming. So they gave me a piece of paper, really nicely done, design, and then they did the digital version. And that some of them like to think like that, and that's fine, right? So that's also okay. Trying to remember who did what, right? That's the same one I showed you here. Okay, here's another one over here. UI kit elements. Here's another one. The weather widgets. So they all had some fun with this, you see. And a lot of them took it to the next level. So there's the map, there's the styles. You can put everything together in one if you want. Okay. But honestly, I'm looking like the good example that I showed you was like something like this, right? So you do the grayscale, do the drawings if you want, and then give me the color version. You don't have to do all three. You don't have to do necessarily you don't have to do sketch. You can do either this one or that one, whichever one works for you. If you want to do all three, even better. You want to do the sketches, then the grayscale, then the color. This is ideal. This is the ideal thing you want to do step by step. Because this gets you started, you can say, okay, want to do the menu this way, the menu that way. There's something about special when you think with your brain and you get your hands involved and you draw it, right? So that's what my other cohort did for this particular assignment, and I expect the same from you. I'm giving you a week and a half for this. Like I said, I'll be around Wednesday to help you out with the delivery of this and some of the execution. We'll cover some other methods, and then we'll follow it up next time. And next week, we'll do some more advanced illustration to help you with the main project as well. So as we're approaching the finish line of the halfway through the semester, we gotta focus on these next two items. And for my class, I think we're all okay if you guys follow everything that I'm asking you to do. Okay, so I'm gonna stop the recording and then take some questions, okay? Because I like to keep that kind of private between us. So I'm gonna go ahead and thank you for watching. I'll see you all in the next. I'll see you Wednesday when we meet in person, and have yourself a good week. By then, all right. See you then. Bye for now.